Welcome to the Build Idaho Seller's Guide. This is what it looks like working with a Build Idaho agent. Prepare to be moved. So this first part talks about your pre-listing checklist. And that's where we'd like to talk about the things that need to be done in the property and the timeline in order to get those done. So that's where we're going to talk about any items that need to be removed or repairs that happen along the way, and then the timeline that we can both get those accomplished. This next page talks about Build Idaho as a company. We've actually helped over 1,000 families buy and sell properties throughout the valley. We want to ensure that you have a phenomenal experience with us, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. Here's some reviews about what other clients have experienced with working with us. This next page actually talks about median home price. The median home price is really important because what it's doing is it's showing us average sold prices over time. Average sold prices talk to us about equity and how we build that in the value of our home. I'm going to actually go over an intensive CMA with you and pull some comparables exactly where your home is and similar comparables, and we'll create a strategic price together. But for the main part, I just want you to understand that if you bought a home, this home in 2018, then this is the amount of equity that's developed over time, and we'll show how that shows up with your comparables that we've chosen. So let's talk about market factors. Market factors has to do with 6 key factors. The first thing we have is timing, when we hit the market. Also, what's happening in the market and other properties. Price. It's important to price it right. So we're going to come up with a price that is determined by other properties and how the market's moving and how supply and demand is working. The next impact is condition. So that's where we talk about the condition of your home and maybe some improvements that need to be made, or the quality of where it is today and how that compares in the market. The next thing is terms. So that's going to talk about what kind of terms are we selling the home for, any negotiations that we need to have, and also your timeline for getting moved out. The next thing is location. We always talk about location, but realistically where your home is located in the neighborhood, what part of town that it's located in, and also the lot placement. So all those things are key factors when we're pricing a property. And the next thing is competition. And that's other homes that are on the market similar to yours and where we stand up with the competition so that we can price it right and get your home sold. So 7 key factors: the list price, the sold price, days on market, bed, bath, the lot size, the year built, and the square footage. I'm going to show you how all of those factors play in when we go over our CMA here together. But I just want you to understand how those impact the market and how those impact pricing. So our property's value, it's actually just not set by buyers and sellers, it's set by the market and what's going on with the market and what homes are selling for. So I want you to understand a buyer's market. Buyer's market is high supply of homes and lower purchase prices. A seller's market is low supply of homes and higher purchase prices. We're actually working in a really balanced market right now, and what that means is that different neighborhoods differentiate, and so I want to help you understand what kind of offers we're going to be receiving and how we navigate through getting it priced right, but more importantly, getting it sold. The pricing strategy is really important, and why the pricing strategy is really important is because I want to make sure that I price it right so that we can capture buyers at every opportunity. And I know that if we don't price it right, then what we're going to do is have to overcome our pricing, and we're going to get fewer buyers looking at it, which means we're going to get fewer offers. And the most important thing to me is the maximum amount of exposure right when we hit the market. So that's why this is so important. So right here for marketing, I would say 88% of home buyers purchase their home through a real estate agent or a broker. That's why I'm sitting here today. I want to be able to help you get that property sold. And how we do that, we do a blend of traditional marketing, but we actually do a little bit more. And how we do that is we're going to do flyers and open houses. As your real estate agent, I have a phenomenal database and network. I'm going to be doing email blasts, I'm going to be doing campaigns, I'm going to be doing some reverse prospecting and some circle prospecting. I'm sure I'm talking a little bit over you, but I want to show you how all of that works in just a minute. Online advertising is our most powerful tool right now. Online advertising is how we actually have a lot more conversations with a lot more people in the greatest outreach. So buildidaho.com, why is buildidaho.com working for you? Because we actually get a lot of online marketing exposure. We had over 3,000 new active users last year. We had over 13,000 property search alerts set up on our website alone. We had over 326 total registered users, and we had over 889,000 total views on our website last year. That's amazing, actually, for just a team in the Treasure Valley that's syndicating out properties. The neat thing about that is that 94% of home buyers used at least one online resource when shopping for a home. Now, the really great thing about buildidaho.com is that when someone clicks on your property on our website, your Build Idaho agent actually gets to interact with them, answer questions about the property, communicate with you if they have questions about it, and more importantly, try to put together an offer to get your home sold. So let's talk about the Build Idaho experience. When you work with a Build Idaho agent, you actually get the entire team. So all these things that are happening behind the scenes, we're working on for you. So you have a listing coordinator, you have the knowledge and the support of Build Idaho, but more importantly, we're coordinating professional photography, we're coordinating staging consultation, drone photos, floor plans, all of those things that are important to marketing your property. Also just making sure that we're coordinating everything with your schedule and communicating with you what's being done and how everything's working together. We also are coordinating with you once we get an offer accepted and we start working with title and escrow and lending, and I'm going to actually walk you through that timeline of what to expect. So let's talk about the selling process and what to expect. So the first thing is home preparation. So we're creating a blank canvas for your future buyer. So the most important thing is decluttering. So decluttering doesn't just mean that our house is messy, but it's really depersonalizing. So we want to be able to create a blank space so that someone can walk into your home and imagine themselves living there. That's the most important thing. So make sure that we deep clean every room, and I have a little checklist for you that we can go through later on, but I just want you to kind of imagine what we're going to do to help get this home ready to sell. The next thing is gathering all of our paperwork. This is where we're going to actually gather all of the information about the property. So this is kind of just creating a book of all the improvements that we've made, everything that we've kept, like our upkeep for like our furnace or our HVAC, our tax records, our utility bills. A potential buyer may ask what it looks like to live here monthly, and so we want to have an idea of that information so we can provide it for them. Also, we want to look at the list price and set that price together. So we've looked through all of the comps, we've looked through all the information, and now it's time to fill out the paperwork. That's where we talk about our listing price, that's where we talk about our compensation, so that you understand how I earn my commission and how I represent you as a client. And then the next thing that happens is once we sign all of those and we fill out our property disclosure and our MLS form. Property disclosure is just disclosing anything about the property that we know that might be good or bad. The MLS input form is actually the data that we'll be syndicating out to all of these websites about your property. So that's where we verify square footage, and we want to make sure that our photos match all of our details and our information about the property. So the next step is listing photos. This is where we get the opportunity to make an impression online. And what we know is that if we start to get people looking online, then they start to schedule showings and then we get offers. And how we do that is we schedule our listing photos, which means we get that home prepared and ready to shine, and then a professional photographer comes into your home and takes pictures inside and outside of your property so we can feature those online. The next thing that happens is any staging consultation, drone footage, any floor plans that need to be there so that we have everything ready and available to do all of your online marketing for you. The next thing is once we go live on the market, we start to get showings, which means that people will be calling and scheduling showings. They'll actually go through me in a portal, and then I'll just be in contact with you. Please have patience with me. Sometimes showings are far in advance, and sometimes showings are just people are out there looking and they want to see your home. So I'm just asking for patience, and please know that the more showings we get, the better odds that we have a better offer. And then the next thing that happens is after showings, then we find a buyer that wants to write an offer on our property. And what happens is they submit an offer with a formal purchase and sell agreement. It's sent to me via email. and then I send it over to you so we can talk about the terms and we can start negotiating a contract. So in those terms would be the offer price, the closing date, how they're going to purchase the property, so it's cash or financing, and then also any contingencies, like if they have a home to sell, if there's something determined upon their loan. But we'll talk about that as we move forward. The next step in the selling process is negotiating and countering. So it's great to understand that if we get an offer in hand, we don't have to accept the offer as it is. We can actually counter back and we can negotiate terms or the timeline. So we can decide together once we get an offer in hand if we'd like to counter and try to put a deal together with the buyers that have written an offer on your property. So once we get an offer accepted, we're officially pending. Congratulations. The next step in the process is actually the inspection, repair, and request. That's where a buyer comes in and they hire a professional inspector to come in and identify all the things about the property. This is a fantastic report that gives the good and the bad of the property, but also gives them assurance about the home that they're buying. And then from there, they actually make a request for repairs or remediations for anything throughout the property. Once we get that, we can actually decide if that's something that we want to repair or request, or we can offer a credit, or we can choose not to do things, and then we decide if we want to move forward. Both parties decide if we want to move forward with the transaction or if we want to go back on market. So that's our decision to make. Once everybody's okay with that, and let's say that we're great with the offer and everything comes in, the next step is the appraisal. If there's a loan on the home, then the appraisal comes in, and that's the lender's appraiser coming out, making sure that the loan is to value of the property. If there is an issue, your Build Idaho agent can address that at that time. Oftentimes it's either where both parties meet in the middle, or if it comes in at value, then we continue to move forward with the transaction. Once everything's moving forward, that's when we schedule our closing. Congratulations. That's when we either transfer the funds or we take care of the wire transfer. And then once it's funded and recorded with the county, then we do the key transfer, and you've sold your home, and now you can move on to your next home and we get to celebrate together. Here's a list of to-dos for your photos and your showings. We just want to maintain our landscaping. Take care of those hedges and trees. Sweep our porch. That means the exterior and the garage. Get rid of the debris and the cobwebs. We want to depersonalize our home, so remove all of our photos and any valuable possessions. For our carpeting, we want to sweep, we want to mop our floors, clean all our doors and our doorknobs. Just kind of make sure that all those plates and everything are taken care of. And then we also want to showcase natural light. So we want to open up all those blinds and curtains. For dust, we want to remove it from our ceiling fans and all of our light fixtures. We want to make sure that we deep clean all of our major appliances. We want to wipe down all of our countertops and sinks. And for our mirrors and windows, we want to make sure those are spotless. Let's clean our bathrooms, and let's put out our fresh towels and make our beds. So our next steps, we're going to review our comps and choose our price. And then we'll complete the agreement. I want to make sure you understand what it looks like working with a Build Idaho agent and the things that we're going to do to get your home sold. And then we choose our listing dates so that we can go live on the market, start getting those showings, and get an offer in hand. Thank you for viewing our Build Idaho Seller's Guide. If you'd like to download the Build Idaho Seller's Guide, click on the link in the caption.